a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth is an American rock vocalist, songwriter, actor, author, and former radio personality. Roth is best known as the original and current lead singer of hard rock band Van Halen. He is also known as a successful solo artist, releasing numerous RIAA-certified Gold and Platinum albums. After more than 2 decades apart, Roth rejoined Van Halen in 2006 for a North American tour that became the highest grossing in the band's history and one of the highest grossing of that year. In 2012, Roth and Van Halen released the comeback album A Different Kind of Truth. In 2007, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Van Halen. Roth possesses a vocal range of 5 octaves and 3 notes. Early life. Roth was born in Bloomington, Indiana. He is the son of art teacher Sybil Roth and ophthalmologist Nathan Roth, a celebrated eye surgeon with a lucrative medical practice and a portfolio of astute real estate investments. The senior Roth was featured on the TV show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous in 1984, on which he claimed that he was Van Halen's first manager, helping the group obtain gigs in the early days. Nathan owned a 14,000-square-foot home in Pasadena, California named Rothwood, as well as a chateau named Bradbury. Roth is of Jewish heritage. Several members of his family were surgeons, uncles Dave and Marty, and a grandfather. His uncle, Manny Roth, built and owned the New York establishment Café Wa in the early 1960s, which featured performers such as Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix. At age 7, Roth got his first taste of show business from the inside by hanging out at Café Wa, as mentioned in his book Crazy from the Heat. His uncle was one of Roth's first guests on his short-lived radio show on New York's 92.3 Free FM. After living in Bloomington and Swampscott, Massachusetts, Roth moved to Pasadena in his teens. He bounced around a number of schools and saw a psychiatrist for 3 years, eventually attending a ranch for troubled teens where he cared for a horse to build a sense of responsibility. He attended the Webb Schools in Claremont, California, and John Muir High School in Pasadena, then Pasadena City College, where he met the Van Halen brothers, Eddie and Alex. During this period, Roth worked as a hospital orderly with Van Halen, 1972-1985, 1996, 2001. In his late teens, he was singing solo, as well as with a group called the Red Ball Jets. Roth says this name was a reference to the red dye used in food at that time, including red candy balls, which would exacerbate his hyperactivity and lead to monkey hour at the family home. Another Los Angeles group, Mammoth, occasionally rented the Red Ball Jets' public address system. Roth agreed to join Mammoth as lead singer. In 1974, when told that another act was using the name, they changed their name from Mammoth to Van Halen, performing original and cover songs. Van Halen eventually gained local success, becoming a regular feature at the Starwood Club. During their 4-month stint there, they were discovered. In 1976, Gene Simmons took note of the band and assisted them in producing their first demo tape. Although featuring many of the songs that would be included on their future debut album, the tape garnered little major label attention. In early 1977, Warner Brothers' Ted Templeman came to the Starwood, heard the group, and signed them to a contract. Roth is also a guitarist and harmonica player. Most acoustic guitar parts in Van Halen songs, such as Ice Cream Man, The Full Bug, Could This Be Magic, and many others, showcase his abilities on slide guitar and acoustic guitar. Virtually all performances, in the studio and on stage, featuring acoustic guitar or harmonica were performed by David Lee Roth, mostly featured in his early years with Van Halen. Released in 1978, the debut album Van Halen earned the band significant national attention. The album eventually sold more than 12 million copies by 2014. The original Van Halen released 5 more successful albums over the next 7 years. Roth is often credited with promoting Van Halen's image as the quintessential rock band, one devoted to a lifestyle described by David Fricke in Rolling Stone as a non-stop booze and babes party train. Despite this wild image, Roth was a key to the band's success both as lead singer and as their principal lyricist. Roth's lyrics worked in harmony with music composed by Eddie Van Halen to create the trademark tunes that helped transform Van Halen, in Frick's words, into the monster rock action squad that ruled the charts and the airwaves for 7 years. In early 1985, while still a member of Van Halen, Roth released Crazy from the Heat, a popular solo EP of offbeat standards. Singles for California Girls and Just a Gigolo / I Ain't Got Nobody succeeded largely due to innovative music videos, which featured ridiculous characters created by Roth and his creative chief director, Pete Angelus, who directed Van Halen's Roth-era videos. Despite the band's success, a creative rift developed between Roth and Eddie Van Halen early on. The former was mainly interested in light-hearted songs about partying and sex, while the latter wanted more depth. Van Halen constructed his own recording studio at home during 1983, which led to a conflict with the rest of the band as it allowed him to create music without their input. Furthermore, he began to move towards a more radio-friendly pop direction with keyboards and synthesizers. Roth insisted that the band should play straight hard rock with only guitars and drums. Their sixth album, 1984, was a critical and commercial success, but continued the move toward mainstream pop. Roth formally parted ways with his bandmates on April 1, 1985. In his 1998 autobiography, Crazy from the Heat, Roth characterized Van Halen's music just before his 1985 departure as morose. Roth wished to record an album quickly, tour, and shoot a movie. "We've created a whole retinue of characters," he noted of his and Pete Angelus' production. "It's a genuine film. It's not Dave singing or Elvis." Entitled Crazy from the Heat, the film was budgeted at $20 million by CBS Films. However, the project folded after the consolidation of CBS Studios. In June 1996, Roth briefly reunited with Van Halen, to great public fanfare. He recorded 2 new songs for Van Halen's Best of Volume 1, Can't Get This Stuff No More, and Me Wise Magic. After an infamous appearance on September 5, 1996, at the MTV Video Music Awards during which Roth and Eddie Van Halen reportedly threatened each other, Roth was passed over for Van Halen's vocalist job in favor of Gary Cherone. In 2012, Cherone confirmed the long-time rumor that he had already been chosen long before the MTV incident, connoting that Van Halen used Roth to create public interest in the hits collection. Me Wise Magic, Van Halen's display of psychedelia-influenced rock with Roth on vocals, became a number 1 Billboard mainstream rock hit in 1996. In 2001, rumors swirled that Roth and the members of Van Halen had recorded several new songs together and were attempting yet another reunion. Roth later confirmed that information, but nothing came of the music. A rumored box set did not materialize. Instead, Warner Brothers issued remastered versions of all 6 early Van Halen studio albums. Solo career, 1985-2006. In late 1985, Roth assembled a virtuoso solo band, consisting of guitarist Steve Vai, bassist Billy Sheehan, and drummer Greg Bissonette. With veteran Van Halen producer Ted Templeman producing, Roth released his debut solo LP, Eat 'Em and Smile, in July 1986. The album saw Roth return to hard rock music, but also incorporated some of his more eclectic musical tastes, ranging from jazz to speed metal. Eat 'Em and Smile met with widespread commercial and critical success, charting at number 4 on the Billboard Top 200, and selling over 2 million copies in the US alone. Roth and his band toured arenas extensively in support of Eat 'Em and Smile, before returning to the studio in 1987 to record a follow-up. In January 1988, Roth released Skyscraper, a more experimental recording featuring the hit single, Just Like Paradise. Company produced by Roth and Steve Vai under the working title, Cliffhanger, Skyscraper peaked at number 6 on the Billboard album chart, and ultimately sold 2 million copies in the US. Soon after Skyscraper's release, Billy Sheehan left Roth's band due to musical differences. He was replaced in time for the album's support tour with bassist Matt Bissonette. The International Arena Tour was a major production featuring At different points during each concert, Roth surfing above the audience on a surfboard suspended from an arena's rafters and lowered into the center of each arena in a descending boxing ring. Both parts of the stage show were featured in the "Just Like Paradise" music video. The show also featured the band in a calypso segment playing Caribbean steel drums and in an unplugged segment where the band performed acoustic covers of some rock and roll classics. Following the tour for Skyscraper, Steve Vai left Roth's band to pursue a solo career and record and tour with Whitesnake. Roth hired 19-year-old guitar virtuoso Jason Becker to replace Steve Vai prior to recording his third solo LP, A Little Ain't Enough, a straight-ahead hard rock album produced by Bob Rock. A Little Ain't Enough achieved RIAA Gold status shortly after its January 1991 release. Before starting a support tour for A Little Ain't Enough, Becker was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, rendering him unable to perform on stage. Guitarist Joe Holmes stood in for Becker during the tour. Later in 1991, Nirvana and grunge rock emerged, altering musical tastes and suddenly making Roth's brand of hard rock seem unfashionable. Roth's band fractured shortly following the tour's completion, with one exception: 1997's well-received La Band album, featuring guitarist John Five and drummer Ray Luzier until his reconciliation with Van Halen in 2006. Roth would utilize hired hands and studio musicians on his club and amphitheater solo tours. In April 1993, Roth was arrested in New York City's Washington Square Park for buying what he described as $10 worth of Jamaican bunk reefer from an undercover police officer. The arrest made headlines and became a late-night television punchline. When asked by Howard Stern whether the bust was a publicity stunt, Roth said, "Howard, in New York City this small of a bust is a $35 traffic citation. It literally says Buick, Chevy, other. Your dog poops on the sidewalk, it's $50. If I was looking for publicity, I would have pooped on the sidewalk." In March 1994, Roth released Your Filthy Little Mouth, a musically eclectic album produced by Nile Rodgers. The album failed to achieve positive critical or commercial success, proving to be Roth's first solo effort not to achieve RIAA Gold or Platinum status shortly after its release. The support tour found Roth playing smaller venues in the US and larger venues in Europe. Your Filthy Little Mouth saw a remastered re-release in 2007. In 1995, Roth returned with an adult lounge act, performing largely in Las Vegas casinos, with a brass band that featured Nile Rodgers, Edgar Winter, and members of the Miami Sound Machine. It also featured several exotic dancers, who in Roth's words were so sweet, I bet they shit sugar. In the late 1990s, Roth trained as an emergency medical technician in New York City, going on over 200 ambulance rides. In 1997, Roth wrote a well-received New York Times best-selling memoir, entitled Crazy from the Heat. The 359-page book was a selected collection of 1,200 pages of monologues, which were recorded and transcribed by a Princeton University graduate who followed Roth around for almost a year. The book received mostly positive critical and reader reaction, and helped to reinvent Roth's image as a popular wit and adventurer, with a bon vivant personality. In 1998, Roth released a final album of self-penned solo material entitled La Band. The album featured a popular song, Slam Dunk, which, like a majority of the album, was co-written by rising guitar hero and longtime Roth fan, John Five. The album was considered a return to form for Roth by critics. In 1999, Roth contacted the Songs of Love Foundation asking if he would be able to sing a song for an ailing child. He went on to record a Song of Love for 9-year-old Ashley Abernathy, who was battling leukemia. In 2002, the Song for Song, the Heavyweight Champions of Rock and Roll Tour, paired Roth with his musical nemesis Sammy Hagar, and proceeded to revive the career of Roth. Despite the monetary success and publicity generated by the tour, Roth's future with Van Halen seemed uncertain. Yankee Rose appeared in the 2002 video game Grand Theft Auto: Vice City, playing on rock station V-Rock, while generally, Roth became more visible than he'd been in years, and more appearing on commercials for MTV with Justin Timberlake. In 2003, Roth released his final solo album called Diamond Dave, which included one last self-penned John 5 collaboration among numerous cover songs. In 2004, Roth appeared on the TV series The Sopranos as a poker-playing guest of Tony Soprano. Regarding this, Roth was quoted on his website as saying, "Mom says I'm going to look like Lee Marvin in 10 years whether I'm in movies or not, so I might as well get after it." On July 4, 2004, Roth performed with the world-renowned Boston Pops Orchestra at Boston's annual Pops Goes the Fourth celebration. The performance was witnessed by over 100,000 people live in Boston, and by millions more on U.S. television. In 2006, Roth appeared on 2 tracks of an album entitled Strumming with the Devil, which cover a number of classic Van Halen songs, in bluegrass style. This album topped out at 66 on the U.S. Billboard country charts. The David Lee Roth Show, 2006. Roth was tapped to replace his friend, Howard Stern, on terrestrial radio, following Stern's departure from terrestrial to Sirius satellite radio. Roth's show lasted for 4 months, and ended in a lawsuit. During the course of the show, Roth maintained a relationship with Howard 100 News reporter Steve Langford. Roth and Langford met frequently after shows, with Langford bringing tape back to Stern of Roth's complaints towards WXRK's management. Issues included Roth's firing, the missing podcast, and his show being cut off early. On Roth's final day, April 21, 2006, he performed the Rolling Stones song, "You Can't Always Get What You Want," for Stern and discussed an impending lawsuit against CBS. Return to Van Halen, 2007 present. On January 24, 2007, after much anticipation, Billboard.com reported that Roth would rejoin Van Halen for a 40-date arena and amphitheater tour in mid-2007. This report, among many others, was confirmed with an official press release posted on the official Van Halen website on February 2, 2007. On February 2, 2007, the official Van Halen website released information that Roth had rejoined the band along with current members Alex, Eddie, and Valerie Bertinelli's teenage son, Wolfgang Van Halen. On March 8, the official Van Halen website posted a letter from Eddie Van Halen stating that Ed did not feel he could perform his absolute best and the tour with Roth would be postponed. In March 2007, 5 members of Van Halen, the 4 original members and Sammy Hagar, were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Van Halen brothers did not attend due to Eddie's condition. Roth was to perform with the band Velvet Revolver. However, conflict with the band caused his part to be cancelled. Roth subsequently did not attend the induction, leaving only Michael Anthony and Sammy Hagar to represent Van Halen. Both Anthony and Hagar thanked Roth publicly for his contribution to the band during the awards acceptance. Roth did not attend the ceremony, and the event was considered yet another public embarrassment for the band. The conflict was rumored to be based on song selection. Roth wanted to perform "Jump," the band's highest charting song, but Velvet Revolver would only agree to play "Ain't Talkin' 'Bout Love" or "You Really Got Me." When it was finally agreed upon that Paul Shaffer would perform "Jump," Roth claimed there was no longer enough time to rehearse and opted not to attend the ceremony. On G4's animated comedy show titled Code Monkeys, Roth was depicted in the 1980s, giving an inspirational speech to keep the others from taking up jobs at Bell Echovision, and asked, would David Lee Roth leave Van Halen? On August 13, 2007, 6 months after the initial reunion tour was postponed, it was finally confirmed by Van Halen with Roth at a press conference in Los Angeles that they would start the tour again in September 2007. At that conference, Eddie Van Halen stated that he and Roth were like brothers now, calling Van Halen a real band. Both Van Halen and Roth spoke of the possibility of further worldwide touring and a new album in mind for the future. On June 5, 2008, Van Halen announced that the 2007-2008 tour with Roth grossed more than $93 million, a record for the rock band. Van Halen played to nearly 1 million people during 74 arena shows throughout the United States and Canada. Beginning September 27, 2007 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and wrapping June 3, 2008 in Quebec City, QC for the 400th anniversary of the city. In December 2011, Van Halen announced a 2012 tour with Roth. The new Roth-fronted Van Halen album A Different Kind of Truth was released on February 7, 2012, and a tour commenced that month. In March 2015, a new live album was released, Tokyo Dome Live in Concert, recorded in June 2013 during the A Different Kind of Truth tour. That same month, the band made its first foray into American television by appearing on Jimmy Kimmel Live, announcing a new tour in the process. The Roth Show, 2012 present. On October 14, 2012, Roth began to broadcast a video webcast on his YouTube channel, and soon also on iTunes, called The Roth Show. In the show, Roth speaks about a wide variety of topics including making music videos with Van Halen, tattoos and sarcasm. On November 1, a music video was posted dedicated to the victims of Hurricane Sandy. Roth has been a resident of Tokyo since May 2012, but maintains homes in New York City and Pasadena, California. On January 2, 2015, Roth posted a Happy New Year video featuring the full version of his cover of the song, Mustang Sally. In 2018, Roth, together with business partner and tattoo artist Tammy James, created INK The Original, a full line of skincare products that protect tattooed skin. Roth spent over 300 hours getting tattooed in Japan between 2013 and 2014, and saw the body art market exploding. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?